In the chat box, kindly leave your name, your location, tell us your experience at the National Educators Conference, if you were able to attend, and then what you hope for at the session. Hi, welcome, Florence. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Dr. Adam. Ooh, thanks for joining us, Dr. Adams. So the purpose of our webinar tonight is to delve into topics that support leading and teaching in future-ready learner-centered communities. By participating in our webinar series, you strengthen your capacity, you learn strategies, and expand your network to include a professional community of education. And our mission at Ghana ASCD is to bring educators together, help them build their capacity. And what we do at Ghana ASCD is we are a leading hub for, we are a leading hub in the education sector. We have our programs Unlock Literacy, National Educators Conference, International Educators Conference, and our EdExpress newsletter. And tonight, we have Ms. Lindsie Boykin, who is a leadership development consultant with a specialization in education and the founder of Leaders Need Systems. And tonight, she's speaking on From Effort to Architecture, a weekly system for instructional clarity. Welcome, Ms. Lindsie.
Thank you so much. Very excited to be here. Let me go ahead and get this rolling. All right. Talk to me in the chat. How was your day today? Give me one word to describe your day today. Full. Okay. Productive. Okay. Okay. Lighthearted. Oh, Charity with the scholars in math class in geometry. Yes. I think I got that right. All right. Any others that can share how your day has been? Other full. Well, it is absolutely great. Okay, love it, love it. Absolutely my hope and desire that you will leave this space from being together in a way that feels like you had time well spent at any part of your day, whether this is the end of your day, towards the middle of your day, hoping that you will feel even more positive and full as you navigate from our space today. So, welcome to From Effort to Architecture. I'm so very excited to be in community with you all. And I'm looking forward to not only being able to share some strategies that I've been able to pick up along the way, but also to hear from you and the strategies that are working for you. And so let's get into it. You are in the right place. Pew, 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 pew. You're in the right place. It is time to get to it. And I just want to extend such gratitude to the Ghana Leadership and Learning Alliance being able to make space for time to come together for learning. I think it's incredibly important as educators that we are able to do this together and in community. So thank you so much. So happy to be here. And forgive my pronunciation if it is terribly inaccurate, but Akwaba, welcome. You are welcome. So many times when I was going to different places while I was in Accra last month, I would always be told, you are welcome, right? And so I want to extend that same thing to you. I put that in the promo video as well, but definitely want to name also how much Accra feels like a place that'll be like home. So I'm excited to be in community with educators from that space and beyond, right? So I am Lindsie Boykin, and I am the founder and CEO of Leaders Need Systems. And I always like to start any type of learning experience that I am engaging with and in with my why and my values, because I truly do believe, as Brene Brown talks about, who you are is how you lead. And so, who I am is someone who values freedom, connection, and making a difference. Those are my big three. And I really strive to ensure that leaders and educators everywhere genuinely have the opportunity to lean into their values as well as their why, right? Because that is foundational in the work. We're going to talk about systems today, right? And that is important. It is also just as important to understand who you are, so that it is very clear how that shows up for you as an educator, right? And so we'll have a brief moment where we'll be able to dive a little bit deeper there because it is to me very foundational to the work. But I definitely wanted to lead with what I truly value, and hopefully you see those values live out through our time together today. So, before anything else, I do want to ground us in a moment for gratitude. So, I know that this is the kickoff to the webinar series as the school year is beginning in so many places. And so, I would love to hear from you, and please drop in the chat. As the school year begins, whether you are already in it or starting it very soon, what's one thing you're grateful for? One thing you're grateful for. Please drop in the chat. And I would love for just two folks to come off and share a little bit more about what they put in the chat. What are you grateful for as this school year begins? Yes, yes, yes. Students, momentum, stability to explore. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you, Serenity. Thank you, Charity. Thank you, Laureen. Let's get a couple more in the chat. Continue purpose. Come on. Thank you, Gina. Yes. And as I stated, would a couple of folks just be able to come off and give voice to what you shared in the chat and give us a little bit more info? I love to hear other voices in the space.
Hello, good evening.
Good
This is
evening.
Serenity. Hi,
Hi,
Lindsay.
Serenity.
I'm so happy to be here.
So happy you're
Um,
here.
so yeah, school for me starts in about 2 weeks, and
Okay.
I think I'm really just looking forward to having some sort of leadership laboratory going on for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is my fourth year entering the role that I'm at with the school that I'm at here in Ghana, and I'm pretty much having to hire and restart with a new team.
Mm-hmm.
Because the teachers that I had prior have graduated and gone on to be classroom teachers now. And so
Mm-hmm.
now it's about bringing on a new group of team members that are going to be working directly with students. And so it's asking myself, how do I want to show up as a leader in this fourth year,
Mm-hmm.
compared and differently to the leader that I was with the last team I had. So I'm really looking forward to exploring my leadership,
Mm-hmm.
especially as I'm in school at the same time. And a lot of the, when you think about the theories and the research you read, how do we implement it? And so I'm just really excited to test that out.
And Serenity, can I say shout out to you for even understanding that when there are new folks in the mix, that is going to call for something different of your leadership, right? Sometimes we move forward and we try the same tactics. There will be some that are tried and true, right? but also being open and understanding that as we interact with new folks, what that looks like, right? And knowing that everything that was done before will likely not just be a copy paste into the present. So I absolutely appreciate that reflection, and thank you so much for sharing with us. One more person, please come off and share what you wrote in the chat and give a little bit more color to it for us. Gina, Florence, or Cletus, would you mind coming off of mute and sharing more?
I can go ahead and do it. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much. Gina Jackson here, California.
Thanks, Gina.
Purpose. Everything
Mhm.
that we do, hello, and thank you so much. Everything that we do is so much bigger than us, you
Yeah.
know, and just having
Mhm.
the ability to be in a space where God wants us to be as educators, it's just
Mhm.
always really rewarding. So,
Yeah, honestly.
going to the new school year, we can make lesson plans, we can have our own plans, but, we just have to make sure that we're hearing the voices of our students and those who we serve, and just make sure that, the totality of what we're doing is within, the bigger purpose. It's so much bigger than us. So I hope I didn't talk too much, but that's pretty much it.
Mm. You better come on with the purpose. Now, that is a word, okay? Because all of the work that we're doing, when we think about the work that we're doing with students, for students, right? And for those that we serve in the education space, it is all for a higher purpose. It is not for us only, right? So I love, love, love that you are stamping that for us as marking it as something that you're grateful for, that is allowing you to begin this next school year in a posture of gratitude for that purpose. So thank you for sharing. Cletus, I see your hand. Please
Yes, good
share.
evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, so just to throw more light on what I said,
Yes.
school starts in 2 weeks, but
Okay.
over the past few weeks, I have been working with the school leaders for our various branches to learn a couple of stuffs,
Mhm.
possibly plan for the whole academic year and not just the term. We used to usually plan for just the term, but
Mm,
now we're working to plan for the whole year so that it becomes more easier for myself and then them. So having us even come together and possibly try to learn these things, which makes my work easy and their work easy, which for most times I'm most grateful for. And also the students that will be coming in. We had a
yeah.
couple of students write their BEC. The results were great. And also one thing that we are really, really grateful for. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Cleus. And I can totally appreciate what you said around being able to plan for longer term, right? You stated that the planning before was a little bit for shorter term, but now doing some longer term planning so that it becomes easier. And this is actually such a great seed to be planted at this moment when we think about why we want to focus on systems, specifically around instruction. Because if we can get those things ironed out and planned for in advance, then it will definitely make the work much lighter. And so thank you again to those who shared. And I did want to um, name that on this slide, there is a QR code to the handout that we'll be using today. And then also we'll drop the link in the chat for you to access. It should force you to make a copy if you have a Google account. If you don't have a Google account, we have a PDF copy that you should be able to access and just follow through. But the way that I tend to approach any learning experiences is that there will be some working that we will do together, right? This is not a sit and get. Yes, I will share the strategies. Yes, We will engage in that way, but it is my true desire that you are able to walk away with something tangible that you can then take back and what I call do your Monday move, right? What Monday move will you plan to do and implement, right? So I would love for you to be an active participant and think about your actual context in this space, because that is how you'll get the most from the space. Being able to speak honestly, and even when it may not make the most sense to you, right? Being able to just share authentically is really, really important, as well as use the tools that we are going to discuss. And what you can expect from me is that it's going to be honesty over polish, right? We want to make sure that when we come to learning spaces and we're able to share and really create a space that is safe, that we're able to be able to push one another in a way that is going to be really intentional and strategic, as well as affirming those things that we know to be working and how to use those also to push us further. Again, something tangible in your hands, making sure that there is voice. So even as I've started and wanting to make sure to include voices, that is how I want the entire time to go. As well as just having this stance of let's build something great together in this time, because that is to me how we get the most out of learning experiences. So give me a thumb in the chat if you are able to access the handout and you have it either via Google Doc or the PDF, just so I can make sure you have. Thank you so much. Thank you, Florence. Thank you, Cletus. Okay, so if you don't have access, please just scroll up. Thank you, Serenity, in the chat. The links are there. Thank you, Lorraine. All right, so here is what we're going to start with, right? This who you are is how you lead component, right? Yes, we're going to be talking about systems today and specifically instructional, a weekly system, right? But I want us to have these things grounded in the values that I kind of shed light on a bit earlier about me, right? So when we think about our core values and how they show up and how we lead, this absolutely impacts how we are going to be able to build the system that we need, execute on said system, and follow up as well, right? So I want us to really be able to sit with this question for a moment. I shared earlier that my values are freedom, connection, and making a difference. And so I want you to think about your own values and what that means for how you show up as a leader, right? So for me, in my making a difference value, because that is one of my big three, it shows up in my passion, right? In my drive, in my pursuit of excellence for students, right? That making a difference value shows up in a way where I will have high expectations, and had I high expectation as a principal and a school head, right? Being able to see how that actually lived out in the space. So I invite you to think about what's one core value that shows up in how you lead, right? And if you wouldn't mind just naming that value in the chat, what is one of the values that really drives how you lead in your spaces? Ooh, authenticity. Come on, Crystal. Stewardship. Yes, Serenity. Thank you. Resourceful. Thank you, Victoria. Okay. Mm-hmm. Impact. Florence. Yes. Love. Yes, Lorraine. Thank you. These are really, really great values, and I want you to just think about how they show up. Empathy, thank you, Cletus. How they show up for you as a leader, right? And I want you to hold on to this reflection as we move into our pieces on strategy, so that you are aware of how empathy or stewardship or impact show up in how you build systems and how you require that they are lived out in your space. Okay. So, as leaders, we know, right? You're already giving 1,000,001%, right? So, here's the question, right? And here's the thing that we are investigating, if you will, tonight, right? What if it's not effort and it's actually architecture? It's actually structure. And I love this quote by James Clear. He wrote Atomic Habits and I think a couple of other things, but you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And so this is where it's highly connected to this piece around the gap is actually not effort, right? It's architecture. And if we can really get in here and create some systems of sustainability around our instructional components, we will actually be able to rise to the level of our systems, right? And I really appreciate this quote that Brahma, Peter Manasa, and I'm butchering his name, I'm so sorry, Brahma, who was so gracious to provide me context around the education landscape in Ghana for this spring's article. But leaders are doing everything at once, okay? This is a thing, right? Drop a one in the chat if you just feel like as a leader, all the things are happening. Just drop a one in the chat. Yes. Just so I could also feel seen. Okay, right? And so the point of this is that we can, yes, manage some of those pieces by investigating the systems that we do have, or maybe we don't have, that are possibly making this a little bit more challenging than it needs to be. And so before we move forward, I do want to collectively define system. Would someone come off mute and read this definition for us? And I would invite someone whose voice hasn't been in the space yet, please.
This is Crystal. I'll read it.
Thank you, Crystal.
Hi, by the way.
Hello.
A system is any structure or procedure that undergirds the work of ensuring high quality teaching and learning, predictable, repeatable, and built by design, not by accident.
Come on, not by accident. So some examples, right? This weekly instructional walkthrough and feedback cycle, right? Staff recognition and shout out routine, which is just how are we recognizing our staff? How are we recognizing when and affirming when we see things that are excellent happening in our spaces? And something as small as like arrival or dismissal, that's a procedure, that's a system that lives in the building of how students are able to enter and exit the space. And so just think about what calls out to you in this definition. I know that lots of times thinking about how we create the system uh, in terms of how do we ensure that it is something that is so clear that it becomes something predictable, repeatable, and we're not having to actually put a ton of brain power into it because it's running like this, right? And so I want us to really unify on this particular definition because that's what I mean by systems as we navigate this content, right? So, as you think about this school year and as you think about the systems that you have in your space, how do you actually want this year to feel for you as a leader? How do you want this year to feel for yourself as a leader? Drop it in the chat for us. Easy. Clears. Heavy on the wise. I love it. Transformational. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Productive. Yes, yes. Flow. Yes. Ooh, come on, flow. And I am here to offer to you that these feelings can be realized if we really lean into systems. And this evening, what we're going to be doing is looking at these three strategies in one system, right? So I want us to orient ourselves to these three pieces, and you'll see them again as you follow along in the handout right there for you to either be able to capture notes or to just reference. So I'm going to step us through, and then for our rhythm map, this weekly cycle that we're going to be building together, that's going to be actual work time you have in our session. Because again, I want you to walk away with something tangible to be able to use. And it's not going to take a ton of time because you've done some planning here, right? So strategy one, narrow to one priority. Okay. So let me say this. I would say when we think about the instructional systems and ensuring that our classrooms are in a space where there is excellence in teaching and learning happening, you're either in kind of path A or path B, right? So as a leader, you already know. Path A is you already know, right? You've been able to identify some things based on data. You've been able to establish and say, you know what? We are going to run 30-day cycles and we're going to start with literacy, right? We know what we need, right? And that is one path. Another path is you're still learning and still uncovering what those needs are. So you may not have the best grasp on what is most needed when it comes to improving and lifting up instruction in your buildings. Uh, and so then you start by understanding and observing, right? And grasping what's happening so that you then can name the priority, right? Path A, path B, neither are right or wrong. They just are. But either way, one named priority comes out. So I'm curious, do you feel like you are more path A or path B? Just drop an A or B in the chat so I can see what we're working with here when we think about the paths and the one priority component. Okay. Thank you, Crystal. Appreciate you. Thank you, Victoria.
What if you sometimes feel you already know, and
Okay.
sometimes you feel you're still learning. So it's like
Mm,
puts you in between with some of the
yeah.
things you know, and you know the outcome, but some of the things you're still learning. So you are neither here, you are
Yes,
here,
yes,
and
yes.
you also learn.
So it's like a minus B plus situation in the middle. No, I hear you. And to be honest, you may not fit cleanly into these two paths. And I do think that there is a world, just like you said, where you think you know. And so when you do know and when you have identified it, there's still some learning you need to do by observation, by digging deeper into classrooms, seeing more instruction to ensure that that is the right priority, right? And I love this point too, because I think about when there has to be this ongoing, what do you call it? Keeping your finger on the pulse, right? We may say and we determine like, oh, literacy is it, right? But then as we go along and we're able to see things more clearly, maybe it points in a different direction. This is not to say we
Exactly.
just play whack-a-mole and kind of do the things like and just move off of things. We want to be strategic and intentional about how we do this, but I think this offers the perspective of we also want to be flexible, right? Around when we see things, we want to be responsive, right? And also we
Exactly.
want to make sure we're doing the thing that is going to be best for our staff, right? And for our students. So I appreciate the feedback in the chat and I appreciate the question. I'm sorry, who was that? I didn't catch the voice. Apologies.
This Florence.
Say it again. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Okay. So we think about that one priority component. And here's what I'm going to offer as strategy too when we think about the cohesion model, right? So all three of these components point back to that one priority that we're talking about, right? So I remember, I can't remember what year of being a school head slash principal this was, but we knew that leaning into math instruction was going to be highest leverage for us, right? So we had that priority around increasing math mastery, student mastery percentages, right? When it came to their achievement. And so we did that by thinking about, yes, we know we want to increase mastery. So we need to also increase support and feedback cycles around math instruction, right? So that's how I want you to think about this component. So we've got observations, feedback, and professional learning, right? When you are observing and you are able to go into classrooms and be able to see teaching happening in real time, really being able to identify those things that are going really well and where there are areas of opportunity, and how having one priority area named helps to really align that conversation, right? And align that observation. Then, similarly, when we think about feedback, because I know I've been guilty of this as a leader as well, giving feedback that may feel all over the place, right? But if we're aligned on that one priority and we can really ensure that there is precision in what we're looking for, so therefore the feedback then aligns to that specific priority, it is going to make the impact that we're intending for it to be made in classrooms, right? And then finally, as we go into enough classrooms, provide enough feedback to our team, then we can understand then what our professional learning content needs to be, right? And so and this is what I call like the capacity building, right? How do we build skill and how do we build the things that we've uncovered and seen in the observation feedback cycle that can then go into a professional learning space to really be able to drive that skill level up and provide teachers with things that they need and support to be able to do the best they can do for students, right? So when we think about this cohesion model, what do you feel like in your school right now needs the most attention? Do you feel like it's the observation piece, like scheduling them, making sure they're happening, things like that? The feedback component, let's make sure that our feedback is getting to folks in a timely manner. Let's actually give feedback, right? Because sometimes we do observations and then, we forget the feedback. You know, the cycle's incomplete, right? Or the professional learning. Which do you feel needs the most attention in your school right now? Drop a O, an F, or a P in the chat. So implementing the feedback, Cletus, is what I'm taking from what you typed. Okay. Feedback, observations. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Feedback. Yep. 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 The professional learning. So we've got all things represented. The point in this component is to understand where you fall when you think about that cohesion model, because that's the actual system, right? That needs to be built and erected to be able to implement it so that it shores those pieces up. And so this is where we're going to get into our actual rhythm map, right? And this is what I'm naming as something that you can start next week, not next term. This is not something that needs to be a long-term piece to get started. But it's to start it now so that it can become some kind of routine for you, that now it is something that shows up in the long term because you've been able to do the things in the short term, right? So again, this is going to hit back on that cohesion model as well as the priority conversation we just had. So step one, narrowing to one instructional priority, being able to observe that one thing, giving feedback on that same thing, and then building the professional learning around that skill, right? So, this rhythm map, if there's a way for you to identify how you can set your week up to be able to do this and I keep doing this because I see it as an arc, right? But to do this in a way that is predictable for folks, for yourself, and for those you are observing and providing feedback for, right? If you can do that, this is going to be a really strong system and structure that's put in place that is going to impact the instructional quality in your building, hands down, right? And so, what I want to do right now is I want us to take some time, as I talked about earlier, to be able to actually do this together. So, in your handout, you will see the weekly rhythm planner. Put a thumb up in the chat if you see that in your handout that was shared earlier in the session. Okay, Victoria's got it. Cletus, okay. Okay. Serenity, thank you. Okay, Lorraine got it. Okay, so as we move into this piece, you have your information in front of you, and I want to make sure that we have ample time to work through the prompts and questions. Okay, so in the handout, you'll see the guiding questions for your planner. So this is what you're going to have time to do. And I want to make sure that you have time to reflect on these pieces and actually answer them. And then we have some discussion around them, right? So again, you are going to go from the priority component, what you'll observe for, feedback, building the professional learning, and then what I call your Monday move, right? And this just means the smallest possible action that you can take in the next 10 days to move this forward, right? So think of this as kind of that micro action. It might be, oh, I'm going to go back and rethink about what our priority area needs to be. Or I'm going to actually take this to my whole team so that we can do this together because I see value in this process, right? Thinking about that in that way. So we're going to go ahead and start with about 5 minutes of work time for you in your own space to be able to work through these questions. Before we release you to that 5 minute time of work time, are there any questions before we move into this particular space? And if you can't find it or something like that,
Can you please
logistically,
go
there's also
over, can you please, can you please go over the task again?
yes. So do you see in your handout where there are the questions that are matching what's on my screen? Do you see
Yes.
that? Okay, so right now in the 5 minutes would be for you to go through and actually answer the questions. So take some time, respond to the questions, each of them on your own, and then we'll come back together for a discussion.
Okay.
Thank you for your question. Any other questions before we move into this work time? Okay, I'm going to set a timer. Give us 5 minutes. So again, go ahead and answer those questions, jot notes down, things that come up for you, and then we'll come back together and have a full group conversation. Right. That was our time. Were you able to just give me a thumb up in the chat if you were able to at least move through a few of those prompts that were all right. And so I would definitely love to hear from you. Obviously, and we want to open it up for this discussion around how you thought about this specific rhythm planner, uh, from your priority to thinking about professional learning. But instead of going question by question, if you will, I would love to hear what resonated with you most when you were answering these questions. You can drop it in the chat. You feel free to come off of mute, but definitely want to drum up some discussion here because this is the most important part. This has the teeth to it, to be able to hear from you. So what resonated most as you were reflecting on your weekly rhythm planner? Thank you, Serenity. Feedback resonated most. Mm, mm. Oh, nice. That's great that the priority piece was easy because sometimes that can be very, very challenging. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Being able to name that priority was easy. Now, Crystal, can I ask, do you feel like that's because your team is very aligned on what the needs are in your building that you already knew? Oh, okay.
I'll
Okay,
come off mute.
okay,
So
okay.
I'm new to the organization, but not to the people in the
Go ahead, Chris. Yeah,
organization.
please.
I've had a long time relationship with this learning organization, but I'm new to it as a faculty member.
Okay.
Um, but coming from a corporate leadership role into this leadership role, there are a lot of similarities, right? And so I'm always very observant. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it was easy for me to pick one priority because I'm still in observation. I'm still a sponge. I've
Yes.
not been indoctrinated. And so
Yes.
I see multiple things, but that one was like low hanging fruit,
Mm.
and it was just sharing feedback across the different instructors. Um,
Mm.
I've had a chance to sit down and learn something from each of them, but
Okay.
what they taught me, the other ones didn't know. And I'm like, wait a minute. And so
Mm.
I'm experiencing the lack of that structured
Mm.
system for
Mm-hmm.
documenting best practices and sharing them across
Yeah.
everyone in such a manner that it can be scaled up, not just in this division, but outside this division. And they
Yeah.
just revealed a new mission and value statement earlier this last week for the
Mm.
entire college. And so it's like, well, this is it. This is that.
Yeah.
It aligns with that strategy very much so. So that's why I think it was easy for me to name one priority.
Yeah, yeah. And I can appreciate that so much because what I heard from that was like streamlining, right? Like making sure that everyone is in alignment, right? How do we ensure that everyone is able to contribute to this structure, right? In a way, because just like you said, everyone has something valuable to add and valuable to say.
Oh,
So
they
how
are
do we, yeah, so how do
phenomenal.
so how do we make sure that everyone has access to that equally, right? And that
Yes,
and that what I also was thinking about is that helps to prevent any how do I so the best way to describe it is anybody going to one of them separately and getting a different answer, right?
there you go.
Whereas everyone's knowledge and ideas are actually a part of the collective understanding, right? So
Mhm.
there is not, a different answer. Actually, all of them are right,
And
right?
that
So like
permeates down
all
to
of
the
them.
students, right? It permeates down to the students, where
Yes,
our goal is to be student centered as possible. The student must
yes.
come first. And so
Hmm.
if everybody's getting the benefit of that expertise now, it is
Hmm.
scalable, and not just in our division, but the other divisions in the college. And so you
Yeah.
have huge opportunity to say, to be, innovative, forward thinking. Everybody shares, but it's informal. So if you
Hmm.
formalize it and create a system around it, as you said,
Yeah.
and do that iteratively, it becomes expected. And then you bring people on board because the question about what would look like happening well, I love that question.
Mm,
Where you get to just say, okay, what does great look like?
yes.
Um, and it looks like everyone participating, being excited, everybody contributing, innovating, but then taking away great things and ideas that they can implement in their classroom because everybody teaches different classes, right?
Yeah.
So that's what great look like. And given the energy that's already in this part of the organization, it would be just phenomenal.
It
So
will really elevate it even more is what I'm
yes,
feeling from you.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing with us, Crystal. I appreciate you. Um, when we think about anyone else want to share what resonated most with them when they were thinking about this kind of weekly planning system to go from aligning to priority to what you're observing for the feedback and building professional learning from it. Go ahead, Lorraine. Yes, please.
I'm really hung up on the feedback part, you all, because
Come on and
this
talk about it. Talk about it.
this is where I feel like we go sideways. We're not always well versed at how to give feedback well, or we're uncomfortable with giving feedback. And so we observe for the thing, we see the thing, and then we skip to like, okay, this is the professional learning we're going to do to fix it. But people
Yeah.
aren't aware of where they are and what they need to be getting out of that professional learning because we didn't give them the feedback that we observed, right? So
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
what's coming up for me, which makes me think like we need to have a session on feedback soon. So thank you for this.
Yes, yes. And I saw even your response to Cletus in the chat, right? But it's like, how do we provide that feedback in the moment? Well, and not even necessarily like in the moment, because also Serenity, I see your hand in the moment, but being able to be clear. Brene Brown also says clear is kind, right? Everyone deserves to understand where they are performing, for lack of a better word, right? When it comes to whatever the piece is that we're working on, right? And so I 1000% agree. Feedback is such a huge component. And I do remember when I was able to systematize what that looked like in my building, it became repeatable and it became expected, right? So everyone knew. And I remember teachers sharing with me that one of the reasons why they appreciated being in our building so much was because they were always getting feedback to help them not only grow and learn, but also to understand what they were doing well too, right? So all of that. I could talk up for days about feedback because I wholeheartedly agree. Serenity, go ahead, please share. Yes, feedback is love. Yes.
Thank you so much. I
Hmm.
um I love that we're on feedback because it's making me about Cletus, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, but just in his statement and Lorraine response, but it's making me think about from my own experience, like my positionality, right? Like
Mm,
when we think about feedback, I have to often think about how does my positionality play
mm,
within this environment? Like, because it can be received as supported or judgmental or even a threat, right? And
mhm.
so sometimes
That's true.
when I think about feedback, I think about three things, right? What power do I hold here?
Yep.
And what's the relationship? How does this person understand my role and who I am in terms of trying to partner with them? And then consequence, like what could this feedback cost them, right? Because I have to remind myself that I'm an American woman in a Ghanaian context, right? And so am I
Mhm.
thinking about my Western perspective
Yeah.
and feedback, or am I thinking
Yeah.
about, the environment? So um yeah, I just often reflect on that, and I just wanted to bring that to the floor and really just think about this question around who is the right person to hear this feedback as you have in your practice, but how might my positionality affect how it is received as well?
1000%. And it also reminds me of like speaking to relationship too, right? To that end. And also that like feedback is not a critique. It is truly an objective viewpoint on how we move forward, right? And I think there are also all of those things, as well as understanding, because I still kept an instructional coaching load as a principal, right? what that meant, right? That I was coming into their classrooms and I was their coach and I was it right from a positionality, exactly what you talked about. So I really appreciate you lifting that, Serenity. Thank you so much. And so as we bring this to a close, I would love for us, I'm big on intention setting as well. So starting with gratitude and concluding with some intention setting, but I want you to think about this year as we kick off, right? And some again are in it, some don't start for a couple weeks, but you want to lead with more what, right? Is it with more clarity? Is it with more eye on your feedback cycles? Is it with um more intentionality, right? Whatever that is, would love for you to just capture for yourself your intention for the school year. And if you wouldn't mind just briefly typing in the chat for us, or you really just copy and paste it from your handout if you're taking notes there, what that intention is in the chat. And for this one, I won't ask anybody to share. We can just keep eyes on the chat and appreciate as we review. So lead with more what? Period, Serenity. Period, period, period. Let's get a few more. Yeah, come on, Cletus, with data and evidence. Yes, clarity, more clarity on intentions. Yes, yes, these are excellent intentions. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And I want you to think about how these pieces would show up and be reflected in the systems that you are going to be erecting, refining, etc., when it comes to ensuring that students are future ready by really leaning in on teaching and learning, right? Thank you, Crystal. Okay. Openness to learn from my yes, 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 yes. Okay. Love these. Excellent, excellent. All right. So let's take some questions. I know we've had some that have come through throughout the time, but would love for any questions that did not get covered or things that are you're still noodling on to come up for you now in this space. Any questions? Yes, Kenya, very good. Good. Hey Trelane, the document, the note catcher. Yes. Can we drop the note catcher into the chat again? And Kenya, please. Yes.
Yes, hello and good afternoon, depending upon where you're located in the world. I am here in Washington, D.C. But I've been an international educator as well as a traveler as well. And so I was originally on the YouTube and I wanted to slide over here so I could be in the chat and also just to say thank you so much for offering this perspective on leaders needing systems as I was multitasking from one meeting to the next and wanted to make sure that this offered and fed me a particular type of way. So simply just coming on and saying thank you for allowing myself to see myself within you and the other participants around being very clear. And as you see, I know that I want to lead with a clear and sound perspective with all of me as a leader. And so just wanted to say that in both written language as well as in spoken language. So thank you for the work that you're doing. And I look forward to connecting with you as well.
Yes, please. Thank you, Kenya, for that. I really appreciate that perspective. And that clarity component is really, really important. And yeah, doubling down on that. Just appreciate you extending that gratitude received. So thank you so much. Any questions that are still kind of coming up for you as we close out? And as we're in this space, please feel free to scan this QR code. It's just connecting to learn more about Leaders Need Systems and that clarity part that we're talking about on my site. So definitely information, news you can use, if you will, right? And then would love to get your feedback. That's so funny that we were even just talking about feedback, but I really do review the feedback that is shared for sessions, because I want to always make sure that the intent is being translated appropriately, as well as understand what can make the session stronger for the next group. So please, please, please go ahead and complete that. And if we could drop the link to that in the chat as well,
Yeah,
that
we
would be
did.
helpful.
Mhm.
And then finally, there is a freebie attached to the feedback. So I have a Mastering the Morning Minutes checklist for leaders. So that's attached when you complete the feedback form. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me, and being able to engage with you in this way has really meant the world. And so looking forward to hearing about all the amazing things that you are doing in your building as the year progresses.
Lindsie, thank you so much for starting off our professional learning series for this upcoming year. Tina, can you reshare that screen? I just want to close out by sharing some of our upcoming offerings and things so that you are in the loop. And thank you all for joining us. So August 30th is the submission deadline for our Renew Ed journal. And I just shared the submission guidelines in the chat for those of you who are interested. If you attended NEC last month, then you'll see that this next issue is based on the theme of the conference, so future forward. And if you were a presenter, great, write about what you presented on. Also, on August 30th, we will open up our call for proposals for those who want to present at our International Educator Summit next July 15th through 17th. So be on the lookout for that. We will share that on all of our platforms. And then also, just so you know, our webinar series has picked back up. We meet every third Thursday of the month from 7 to 8 Ghana time. And our next topic is focused on AI ethics. So please join us for that. And thank you all so much for being here. Again, continue to follow us on our socials so you can be up to date on the latest and greatest. If you're not yet a member, we always encourage you to join us and get some of the great benefits that members get. Some of those are on the screen. I'm trying to be mindful of time. And you can follow us on our socials on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, all the things. This video will be available on our YouTube channel, and we will email it to you as well. Thank you all so much. Have a good rest of your day or evening, and we will see you in 3 weeks or in the third week of September. All right, you all. Take care. Again, thank you so much, Lindsie. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Have a great one,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.